Good evening, Saints fans and Who-Dats, as well as NFL Huddle fans. My name is Kyle T. Mosley, and I am the host of the NFL Huddle. I have tonight a special guest with me. He is none other than Dr. Henry Mahncke. And if you want to know who he is, stay tuned and you will get a glimpse of what he can do for you, as well as if you are in athletics and you want to catch up and touch up on your neuroscience approach to the game, he is the gentleman to talk to. Why? Because he helped none other than six-time Super Bowl champion, Mr. Tom Brady himself. How you doing, Henry?
I'm doing great. How are you doing tonight, Kyle?
Good. Welcome to tonight's show. Look, I just was very intrigued when the invitation was extended to me to be able to talk with you about what you were able to do to help Tom Brady in his approach to the football world, right? And of course, his accolades are well stated, and he's headed to his 10th Super Bowl, right? I cover the New Orleans Saints, so he is hated around these parts for what he did some years ago, but and he's a really good quarterback. But anyway, let's talk.
That's fair to say.
Yeah, fair to say, right? But let's talk a little bit about your program and tell us about what's happening with Posit Science.
Yeah, so I'm a scientist here at Posit Science, and we make what you'd call a brain training program called BrainHQ. And, the idea for BrainHQ and this kind of brain training is that we can build cognitive exercises, brain exercises that you do on your computer. And what they're designed to do is literally speed up information processing and make the way your brain processes information more accurate so that you have a sharper, faster brain. And this comes from just a huge amount of neuroscience. If you had asked me 20, 30, 50 years ago, how does the brain work? Every brain scientist would have said the same thing. The brain's like a computer chip inside your head, right? It's got wires that connect to each other. It's got electricity that's flowing back and forth. It processes information. It's like a computer chip. Mm-hmm. But, the problem with that belief is, as all of us know, computers wear out over time, and there's not a lot you could do about it. And So if we think the brain's like a computer chip, we also think the brain just kind of wears out over time, right? You get old, you get bumped on the head, you're out of luck. And, really where we come from is this discovery that the adult brain is actually capable of change and rewiring itself. And in fact, once you understand that, that lets you realize that if we ask our brains to do the right thing, we can rewire our brains to be sharper and faster and, help us at everything we do.
Well, and that's pretty important to me because my mother suffered with Alzheimer's.
Sure.
And her brother also, he had Parkinson's as well as Lewy body dementia.
Lewy body disease, yeah, Lewy body dementia, sure. Yep.
Yeah. And toward the end of my mother's life, combined with the Alzheimer's, she started to develop some Parkinson's as well. So for me, it's important to understand what I could possibly do to stay sharper because I'm 54 now. Are there any exercises that are designed for someone like myself, or is it only for athletes?
It turns out it's for everyone. And, it's kind of a funny story how we figure that out. So, we originally built these programs and we thought, who's interested in their brain function? And we started off with older people, right? Everyone gets old and then most of us start to feel like we're slowing down and maybe our memory isn't what it's used to be. So we built the programs thinking that older people would use them. Now, that being said, of course, anyone can use them. So you can imagine how surprised we were when we got a call from Tom Brady's trainer, Alex Guerrero. And he said to us, hey, did you know that Tom Brady is using BrainHQ? And, we said, hey, as a matter of fact, we did not know that. We're pretty interested in learning more. And they kindly invited us to fly out to Foxborough. We flew out and we met with Tom's, his personal brain training team. There's no other way to put it. And it was just kind of a wild experience for me, right? I'm kind of a lab rat. I did a PhD in neuroscience, And to take this program that we had originally thought would be of interest to older people and have Tom talk us through how much benefit he was getting out of it as a young guy, and frankly, as a young guy who was always pretty sharp to start with.
Right.
I think it kind of opened all of our minds around how brain training should work. So you asked, hey, who is this of interest to? And our answer on the basis of working with, with Tom and TB12 and the broader organization is, hey, we should think about brain fitness the same way we think of physical fitness, right? I could ask you, hey, who's physical fitness good for, Kyle?
Me.
That's right. You and everyone, right?
Yeah,
Young people benefit from physical fitness. Old people do. Tom Brady's in fantastic physical condition. He actually still works out, right? So physical fitness is all of us. And, brain fitness, I think, is just what the science is telling us. And it is kind of funny that I had to have Tom Brady teach me this. But, this is what the science is teaching us, is that, hey, this kind of brain fitness is probably good for all of us, whether we're young adults, whether we're old adults, whether we're at the peak of our performance, like Tom and other people like him, or whether, frankly, our brains are maybe not so good.
Right.
And we work on it. The same way physical exercise helps all of us, the right kind of brain exercise can too.
Interesting. So Tom flew you guys up. He was using BrainHQ for, was it a couple of years before contacting you guys?
He'd probably been using it for about a year or two before his team reached out to us. That's exactly right.
So have you been able to help other athletes, especially NFL athletes or somebody who is in basketball or anything to that nature that we know of?
It's a funny thing. There's a variety of people who've used BrainHQ that we've been in contact with. Most of them keep it to themselves a little bit. One person said they thought of it as their secret weapon. And, it's really been a blessing for us that Tom has talked about it. Just to be clear, he's not a paid endorser. I can't afford Tom Brady. God bless him. And so when he's talking about this, he's talking about it because I think he has a mission to share with everyone. Hey, what are the things that he personally has put together and vetted that are helping him be the best he can be, as he continues to be a quarterback after more than 20 years. Yeah. So we don't have other people yet who are willing to get up and be public about it, but I hope that we do some point.
Well, I can tell you, the New Orleans Saints organization, they do like to kind of look at new technology, anything that to be able to get them to get an advantage on their opponents. So Sean Payton might be one guy in particular you may need to approach on this.
We would be happy to talk to more people about it. And, I think one thing that's become clear for us is, hey, we just have all kinds of groups using BrainHQ across, what I might broadly call the workplace, right? So, we had kind of an amazing study done in law enforcement where a partner of ours actually worked with police who were doing, shoot, no shoot training, right? A target pops up and you have to decide, is this person a threat or is it not a threat? Yeah, right. And, they put these, again, really high performing young law enforcement officers through BrainHQ training that focused really on brain speed and decision making, and actually showed that their shoot, no shoot decision making got better. They were able to make the right decision, particularly to withhold shooting when they're not supposed to, as a result of improving their brain performance this way. And, things like this are really just expanding, I think, all of our minds around, hey, what does top brain performance mean? And I think just about in any line of work, whether it's yours or mine or Tom's or a law enforcement officer or all kinds of people, hey, just about anyone can benefit from having sharper, faster brain processing.
That is important because you talked about all levels or all across all type of work fields, right? Especially, I would think industrial fields would really utilize this pretty well. We have these high-speed automated systems, and everything's so industrialized.
Yeah, we
would really benefit from this, right?
We did some great work with an Australian mining company, actually, that was looking at that used BrainHQ to improve workplace safety. And I don't know if you've ever been to a mining site, but you go out and you're looking at trucks where the tire is 4 times taller than you are.
Huge.
And hey, I think all of us might have been an fender bender in our personal car from time to time, but hey, you're an fender bender with a 20-ton mining truck, and you don't really just get to call up your insurance company and say, hey, can you pay that out? It's a pretty big problem. And so that's exactly the kind of case in the workplace where you're right. Having a faster, accurate brain is something that can help anyone. We did some work with a high-tech company, here in the U.S., Fujitsu, actually a Japanese company, and they use BrainHQ with their knowledge workers, the men and women who were doing, programming and software development for them, and actually showed that BrainHQ could improve their cognitive function, things like working memory and attention. And then they actually measured their brain waves and demonstrated that, they basically had faster information processing as measured with brain waves and better decision making. So, we're kind of at the early stage of this science, but it's just becoming increasingly clear that, hey, we should all be taking care of our brains, as well as we take care of our bodies, right?
Right.
Well,
let me talk about someone like myself, an average Joe, right?
Yeah. All right.
How can I get involved with BrainHQ? What are the steps for me to be able to approach you guys to say, help me out? Or is it very classified information that you have to withhold at this time? What? No.
We want to put BrainHQ in the hands of anyone who wants to benefit from it. So when the company was founded, it was actually founded by my PhD advisor. I did a PhD in neuroscience at UC, University of California, San Francisco. And my advisor, Michael Mahncke, who was world famous for discovering the idea that the adult brain could change, he called me up and he said, Henry, we've helped a lot of rats and we've helped a lot of monkeys get better brains. It's probably about time to make sure that we help every human on Earth get a better brain. Yeah. And that was a pretty compelling pitch. So I joined the company and got off the ground. So it's not supposed to be top secret. It's not supposed to be by prescription only. It's not supposed to be only if you join some elite fighting force in order to do it. In fact, anyone who wants to try this out can just go to the website at www.brainhq.com. And in fact, you can register for free and it'll give you one exercise a day just to try out to see if you like it. And then, you can subscribe and unlock all the exercises, unlock the personal trainer, all the progress tracking feature. And even that's, it's $8 a month when you buy for a year. So we're on a mission to get this science out of the lab and into the hands of anyone who thinks they can benefit from it. And, one thing we do is we work with TB12. So, which I'm sure as is, how Tom is bringing all of his, what he's learned and his wisdom around how to take care of your body. And, they offer, personal coaching there. And, you'll get great advice about how to maintain your physical performance, which actually contributes to your brain performance. A lot of people don't know that, but physical exercise helps out the brain. If you're asking for advice for what an average Joe like you or me could do, one step, of course, is BrainHQ. The next step is physical exercise. And the next step is eating a healthy diet. And of course, at TB12, they're going to teach people how to eat in a way that, maintains their physical health. But it turns out that exact diet is a pretty good diet for brain health as well. Yeah. And so that's how people could get it. And then, we work with all kinds of other groups. So we actually work with a number of different Medicare Advantage plans right now. So, thinking about, our parents or our relatives in that front. At a number of plans like Priority Health, Scan, Anthem, Kaiser Permanente across the country, people can actually get BrainHQ now as a free member benefit, right? Really? Medicare plans are actually giving the program to their members for free because they know it's going to improve their health outcomes, right? Help keep them sharp. And they know it's actually going to cost them less over time as well, because a person with a healthier brain, costs the health system less money over time. Right. So free is a pretty good price if you know someone who's in one of these plans to go ahead and take advantage of it. But I think it just starts to tell us that, people can come to us directly. They can go to TB12 and get personal coaching. They can get it for free from their Medicare plan. It's really starting to feel like the world's starting to change in terms of thinking about taking care of our brains.
Okay. I have a 15-year-old. He's going to be 16 in a couple of months.
All right.
Now, could I be able to get him involved, or is it only for age 18 and over?
Anyone can really sit down and do the exercises, right? I mean, if you're younger than 13, it might be a little bit hard to get someone to stick with it because, they just have different attention spans. But,
if they have attention spans, right?
Yeah, attention spans at all, who can tell really?
Yeah.
Kids are pretty interesting because, of course, their brains are changing incredibly quickly at that age, right? They're learning so much, their brains are growing and developing. And I should say, we haven't run specific trials in kids. There's tons of reasons to think that really at any age, improving someone's brain information processing is going to be a thing that helps them out. And of course, with kids, kids get wired up in all kinds of different ways. And some kids have problems with attention, and some kids have problems with working memory, just like some adults have problems in those areas. And, BrainHQ is designed to help those kinds of things, kind of get a brain on the right rails and help it keep going in the right direction.
Okay, so BrainHQ can also help you focus, and also help you kind of tune into what you need to focus on a day-to-day basis. Is that what I hear?
Yeah, that's right. And this is an area we have done clinical trials in. And I should say, one of the things that makes BrainHQ unique, and I think one of the reasons, Tom picked it for inclusion in his TB12 overall method is, hey, we have the science. There's actually been more than 200 papers published in leading scientific journals by independent academic scientists, right? People who don't work for me, people who I don't pay. And, they've used BrainHQ exercises in all kinds of settings, in young people and old people and healthy people and not so healthy people. And, fundamentally shown that it works, that it improves basic cognitive functions, like things like your speed, your attentional focus, like you were just saying, your working memory, right? And then also shows that it helps improve people's real world skills. Turns out that, drivers who do 10 hours of BrainHQ training focused on the visual system, they actually have about a 48% lower risk of having an at-fault crash.
Really?
Probably because by speeding up their visual system, they actually see better and faster into their peripheral vision. So they stay out of crashes more, right? They notice something coming in out of the corner of their eye and they do the right thing. They step on the brake. And so, the science is really in on that front. So, you mentioned attention in particular, and there have been some really nice studies looking at, people's ability to maintain attention, to ignore distractors and things like that, to focus in, exactly like you said.
Oh, wow. I need to sign him up immediately. Man.
Look, talked about a little bit of brain training in before the Xbox each night, and then he'll be in good shape.
The PlayStation is for him. That's his.
All right. Well, I'm not trying to start an Xbox PlayStation war here.
Now, you say something interesting. You talked about driving, NASCAR, Indy cars, the Formula One. Would those guys be like someone like Lewis Hamilton? Would he be crazy not to grasp this and say, let me take it in and try it? Or Bubba Wallace or someone to that nature?
That's a great opportunity because you talk about places where a split-second decision is the difference between maybe not just winning and losing, but maybe winning and surviving, destroying your car, all the kind of terrible things that can happen. Yeah, and that's absolutely right? I mean, one thing that happens to us, this is a well-studied feature in attention, right? So you're looking straight ahead. Imagine you're driving, right? You're in an Indy race. You're looking right ahead of you because you're trying to figure out, because you have to guess to the inch, how close are you to the car ahead of you? Is this exactly the right millisecond to make my move, right? But it's well known that while we do that, all of our attention gets captured in the center of our gaze, right? And we actually become kind of blind to things in our peripheral vision, right? It's like a whirlpool, pulls all of our attention in straight ahead. But of course, that's not great if you're in that kind of race, because while you are looking straight ahead at the car in front of you, you have to be ready. Someone might be coming up to you and pass. So you have to have enough attentional resources to be fast and accurate in your peripheral vision as well. Now, that's exactly the kind of training that's included in BrainHQ, and it's exactly included for that reason, right? Because all kinds of people, but IndyCar and NASCAR races in particular, need to maintain that kind of overall spatial awareness.
That's interesting because he's now starting to drive as well.
It's a scary time as a parent.
Yeah. We were on the highway the other day, and I was teaching them how to change lanes, how to slow down, gradually slow down, not press on the brakes so hard. But those are some critical areas that could possibly help him.
Kids have kind of an interesting issue in driving as well. The most common kind of crash for an older driver is an intersection crash. They enter the intersection and they don't realize that something's coming out of the corner of their vision, and so they get T-boned. But a kid, it's actually not that true. The most common kind of crash for a younger person is actually, what they call a single vehicle crash, which is to say they come and they're like, why the heck did this car crash, right? And, there's no other car involved or what have you. And it's actually because kids have the opposite problem. They actually are rather than having limited attention, focus in on the center, they actually pay too much attention to what's going on around them. And, I imagine anyone who's driven with a young person has noticed this, like, oh, look at that billboard that went by, oh, look at that person, they're eating a hot dog. And you're like, oh, God, put your eyes on the road, buddy, right?
Let's focus.
Yeah, it's focus. That's exactly what you said. So kids are kind of at the, the right kind of attention is in between, right? You need to be able to focus and then notice things. Kids notice things too much, and older adults focus too much. But it just goes to show us that, in so many ways, we just take our brain for granted, right? We just assume it's going to kind of be there. It's going to do the work it's supposed to do. And I think what we're really starting to realize with this kind of neuroscience now is that, every aspect of brain performance is dynamic and changes, and it changes over your lifespan, and it changes in reaction to, how you use your brain, right? And, once we get that idea, right, so many people have a really terrible idea about their brains, right? Oh, I just got the brain that I was born with. It's all in my genes, right? And, it makes me really sad when I hear people say that because, boy, it is really not. We can reshape our brain, and we can reshape things like attention and speed and working memory. And, when we reshape those things, if we ask our brains to do the right things, we're going to change our life and have a better life. It would be like if you talk to a young person and they said, I'm just a fat person. I'm never gonna be in good shape. And hey, I get why people feel that. All of us probably struggle with weight at some point in our life, but we all kind of know that, hey, that's not true. If we do the right thing, if we're disciplined and we exercise, we can reshape our body. And once you realize that that's true for your brain as well, right? It just kind of changes everything about how you think about growing up, or how you should spend your time as an adult, or how you should live your life once you're older and retired.
Awesome. Two quick questions before we get off.
Yeah.
One, do you do one-on-one sessions, or do you do just group sessions?
So what we do is, BrainHQ is, it's a software program. And so people do it in their web browser. They download it on their phone or their tablet. And it's, it's a thing you do kind of on your own from us.
Okay.
And, we offer support. People call us, we give them advice and help get people started, all that kind of stuff. But, it's a thing you can do on your own. That being said, we work with groups that offer BrainHQ in a coached environment. In TB12, Tom Brady's organization, great example of that, right? You can, sign up for overall personal coaching, which is going to include BrainHQ coaching. And, there's a lot of people that's exactly the right thing for. In the same way that sometimes people start a physical exercise program, they start a diet program, maybe it's a little bit hard to stick with. It can be nice to have a personal coach, to have someone to kind of live up to. And so TB12 does that. We work with various kinds of community organizations, work with YMCAs. We work with community college organizations that actually put BrainHQ in a classroom environment so that you can have someone kind of, looking over your shoulder, if I put it that way. Make sure you stay on the path of righteousness and achieve your goals around brain training. But it is very accessible. People can just pick it up and, log in at www.brainhq.com and give it a try. It's meant to be, out there is something anyone can tackle.
Well, autism has been close to my business world, and I know some friends and family members who have had kids with autism. Can this be helped with autistic children, or even a couple of them are in their 18, one is 18, one is going to be 20. Can they help there?
I wish we knew more about that, because autism is such an incredibly important issue. We see more and more kids get diagnosed with this condition. I have good friends of mine, a number of them who have kids who are, have mild Asperger's or more significant cases of autism. On the one hand, I have to say that, hey, because we understand brain plasticity, right? Autism isn't like a curse put on you by a wizard, right? When you are quite young, probably in the time that you are, less than 2 years old, something gets wired just a little bit differently in your brain that makes you more interested in these kinds of repetitive, tasks, and frankly makes you less interested in people. And we don't know why that is yet, right? We do know that the brain has large chunks of it that are devoted to understanding people, right? To understanding faces and understanding emotions and understanding what people mean. And, what we kind of guess right now is at this very young age, somehow those part of the brain, it's like they get redirected a little bit so that you have a ton of brain power devoted to trains, maybe, instead of a ton of brain power devoted to people. That being said, we believe in brain plasticity. We believe in brains can be wired. It seems like it has to be true that someone could come up with the right brain training program that would help, nudge those brains back on a more typical path of development. And in those cases, we would love to see those programs used in kids as early as possible, because, the sooner you help with something like that, the better. But, I wish we could say that those studies had been done with BrainHQ. We just don't know yet. And, maybe someday we're going to find the right partner, the right funder that wants to help us do those kinds of scientific studies and see what's what. That being said, I have to say as a neuroscientist that, I really hope the other thing that happens in society is we just gain a greater appreciation and value for all the ways that brains can be different. One thing I really worry about in society is we just feel like we're getting narrower and narrower and saying, hey, this is the only kind of brain we value. And we just shouldn't be like that, right? I recognize without a doubt that having a kid who gets diagnosed with ADHD or autism is gonna cause pain in the family, and I just hope we can get to a point where we realize that pain is not because the kid has a bad brain, but it's because a lot of it is because society just doesn't accommodate itself for kids who have different brains, right? I think we now recognize that what we call ADHD now, this was probably a useful brain phenomenon in earlier points in human society when we were hunter-gatherers, and we needed people whose attention would hop and skip around quite a lot. And it's only now that we think kids should sit in school for 7 hours a day that we think, oh, this is a problem. And, Asperger's and mild autism as well, these are characteristics that if we were just a little bit more flexible ourselves in society, we would say, hey, this is a kid or a young adult who's got a ton to contribute. So I always have to say that because I don't want anyone to walk away thinking that, hey, a brain training program is out there to fix a kid. I just think we have a ton of work to do in society is change ourselves so that we're welcoming for all kinds of brains. So that's me on my soapbox a little bit about things. Thanks.
No problem. Look, I understand. We have to be able to understand the differences and accept and embrace the differences, like you said. I think it goes just beyond what's happening with kids, adults as well, because I think there's in our society today, there's a lack of respect if you're not normal or what we classified as normal, right? So
that's exactly right. So
all right. Let me ask you this. Okay, one last thing before we get off the air. If we see BrainHQ is working for us, let's say we purchase the system, the platform, the software, download the app. Is it an app?
An app too, you can download. That's exactly right.
And we see it's working well. Is there a way we can approach you to help expand it, to help other like family members or something? Or do you guys have a family plan for people? These are things that people want to, right?
Well, that's exactly right. Now, if you are, if you're a subscriber to BrainHQ, you can actually purchase discounted gifts, which you can then give to people who want to use BrainHQ and so forth. And we're always happy to hear from people about their personal experiences. We take those stories really seriously, and they make their way back to our science and our product team and so forth, help us make the product better and help us make the science better. But I think the single nicest thing that happens is, hey, people are comfortable sharing their story with the world. And it's really important for two reasons. One reason is, hey, we still have work to do to change people's minds that brains can be changed. And every person who goes through something, whether it's BrainHQ or something else that, helps them see, hey, my brain can get rewired and I'm better off for it. That's another person who's changing minds and making people stop thinking that they're just fixed in their brain and they should give up. Of course, the other thing that's nice about people telling their stories like this is it just spreads the news, that we have something we can do to take care of our brains.
Yeah, look, I am on board, Doc. You got me already.
All right. Well,
to try it out, especially for that young guy I'm raising. I think he would benefit. He likes this type of stuff anyway, So,
yeah. Well, it's the kind of thing. If you're a competitive person, it's nice if you're competitive because you can get high scores and you can see your performance at the absolute ceiling, and that's how pro athletes and stuff go about it, and your son as well. But it's also pretty nice if you don't want to stress and you just want to kind of say, I want to sit down, I want to do my good work on my brain for the day. It'll take you through a pathway where you don't have to make a lot of decisions and you can just know you're doing the right thing for your brain. So,
okay. And one more time, is it www.brainhq.com? Is that correct?
Exactly right. www.brainhq.com.
All right. Awesome. We just heard some fantastic things from Dr. Mahncke, and he's the CEO of, is it Posit
Science? That's us. Yep.
Yeah. And guys, go out to brainhq.com, check up on it, download it, get the app. You don't have to be like Tom Brady, but you can be like yourself and do such a great job. But
you can be like yourself and be on the way to becoming a little closer to being like Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And, maybe even the Saints will have a chance to get a little bit closer to that. What do you think?
Man, you stepping on toes now, Doc. All right. It's great to have you on board. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for having me.